Good evening and welcome back to another edition of Beyond the Backstage Pass. I am your host, Vince Edwards. You may know me from Sound Image Productions. I also have a couple closed roadie groups on Facebook, one called Death by Loadout and another one called The Backstage Pass. Come check us out. This evening we've got a hell of a show for you. Got a couple special guests. We're going to get to that in a minute. I want to do a couple of quick shout outs to some dear friends out there. Some amazing, wonderful shit's happened. Our dear friend, Chris Leonard, over there at Signal to Noise Podcast, Badass A1 in his own right. Him and his lovely wife, Jessica Leonard, had a beautiful new baby. It's a beautiful baby named Skylar Hope. And we want to say congratulations to that family and right on. Beautiful thing. Go check them out. They're over there at Signal to Noise Podcast, one of our friends in the game, and it's a great place to be. So go send them some love. That would be really sweet. Tell Chris and his wife, congratulations. This evening, I have my dear and good friend, Kyle Thomas, our co-host, is on an 18-week run on some shows we just pushed him out on. A poor bastard. I know he's kind of loving it and hating it at the same time. He told me to tell you guys that he's missing you, and he's going to do his best in between sets for the band I believe he's doing. I just talked to him. I think Tycho is about to come up, so he's about to do that. And in between, he'll try to get your comments and your queries and questions, so feel free to continue to send those. Because they're not in front of my face, I'm going to thank a few of the friends that I know that come to the show regularly. So let me do a quick shout out to you guys and girls. The wonderful and one and only John Del Rio, that's Gallagher Staging. Our dear and good friend Ian Peacock across the pond. I know it's about 3 o'clock in the morning for you over there. Hi, Ian, thanks for checking in. The badass himself, Bob Powers, Metallica's man. Sweet Bob Powers. Bob St. Laurent, radio star and God. He's the best. One and only Joe Victoria. He's everybody's everything. Beyonce, Metallica, Rolling Stones, Paul McCartney. I know he's watching. Hey, Joe. Love you, baby. And the great Noah the Beard. He's on the board right now doing some work, I believe, in Florida or Boston. He's on the, I don't know. But Noah, sweet. And our dear, wonderful good friend, the captain, Snoopy. Thanks for tuning in tonight, baby. My lovely and amazing wife endears my mood swings and incredible weirdnesses. Jackie Henry. Bernie's laughing right now, honey. He knows. He knows there's truth to that statement.
I know the truth.
I want to yell out to you, Scott Chaney, our dear good friend. And the one and only, the godfather of this show, the badass of badasses and true legend in our game, Charlie Zaricki. Good evening, Charlie. Thanks for being here. I want to thank last week's guest, Alec Palau. Now, Alec is kind of a different fit for the show, but, Jesus Christ, 45 years of working and being in some of the biggest, coolest bands from the 60s and 70s, and his studio work and his reissue work on some of the coolest vaults from Decca to Muscle Shoals to his contributions, Rhino. There would be so much music lost to us without Alec, and I just want to thank you for being here last week. It was an extraordinary, enlightening, and a good interview, so thank you for that. And this week we are very lucky, and I'm going to get right to it, to have my dear good friend and co-creator of this show, and just resident genius, literally loudspeaker creator, innovator, legend on the show with me. He's sitting in here in the guest seat because he has brought one of his. Now, we talked about this with you guys. We told you that he got motivated to build the best Bluetooth speaker out there he saw me running around with some little crappy thing that he thought he was ridiculous and I shouldn't have in my hands. So it spawned him to do the Bernie Broderick version of this thing, and we want to debut that here tonight on the show. Let me hand it over to the one and only, the lovely Bernie Broderick. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, man. This is very last minute to come on, but I thought I was just dropping it off, but this morphed into...
You came on at 6:13 and we talked about it and we were like, put a mic on that man.
I was like ready to go back to work again.
I think we got a little tip of the hat to Mikey for just being the guy on the fly. I mean,
absolutely.
Fucking Mikey. You're a badass, Mikey Brown.
Mike, his name is Mike. Spelled differently, but...
You call him whatever you want. I call him Mikey.
But he came out with the good.
See?
Came out with the goods. I call him Audio Jesus myself.
I call him Rock and Roll Jesus.
You got to see You got to see Mike to understand what we're talking about.
It would make sense immediately.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a fucking Ted Neely of audio.
But no religious, so we'll call him Audio Jesus.
That works.
There you go.
Yeah. Keep the religion. We know about the religion role, Burn. So you got a new thing. We only got a few minutes, and I've seen it. It's fucking beautiful. It's really beautiful, Burn.
Thanks, man.
Like, it's sexy as hell. I'm digging the shit out of it.
Well, I came over because you're actually the very first human being to receive one. So you got into queue really early. We had this pre-run
Yes, sir.
that people are all aware that things might change. I might, take it back and do something to it or whatever.
That's right.
But yeah, so I might as well do what I was gonna do when I started doing when I came in.
I saw you come in here with a Pelican. When
There
you
you
got
go.
their little gator, what is that?
That's it.
So is that
That's your shipping container.
that this? You know, I'm a little rough on things.
That's your
Little
shipping.
nod to my history of
I'll explain.
abusive behavior.
I'll explain. So,
All right.
but first of all, I'll take it out and
Yeah.
well, this is I don't know which camera I'm supposed to point to, but this is
See,
this is
how you
it.
taking it, Mikey? Down the middle or off to the sides?
Yeah, I think he got it. So
Yeah, if you can pull in on that, this thing is sexy. Now, of course, I ordered mine in black because, well, for obvious reasons, and it's just sexy as hell.
there you go. Okay, so basically it comes in the case.
Comes with
It's
its own
4
case.
pounds. So
Yeah, it's substantial.
it's substantial.
Yeah.
There's good reasons for it. Let me just find a spot for it to live there.
Yeah.
And then we can just kind of talk about it real quick. But yeah, I mean, it's something that kind of I was inspired to do over the course of the last year during the pandemic. And building a Bluetooth speaker is not easy, believe it or not.
Well, I watched the work you put into this thing.
Yeah, the smaller
distance.
something gets, the more difficult it is to get the fidelity, to get the bass response, especially to get any usable volume out of it. There's a lot to learn. There's certainly a skill set that needs to be handled. So I'm a watch guy. I like watches, and the way I kind of approached this was as I kind of looked at the market. There were the equivalent of Timexes for Bluetooth speakers.
That's right.
And all the way up to Rolexes for Bluetooth speakers.
That's right.
I mean, Louis Vuitton has a $10,000 Bluetooth speaker.
Ridiculous.
There's a company in France that has $3,600, $3,700 Bluetooth speakers. And I'm like, wow, that's just insanely priced. But maybe we don't have to go that far with it. We can build something that's premium, that is important to the person who owns it, and maybe find a sweet spot for it. We don't have the final price design yet, but it's certainly not a Best Buy pricing. You know what I mean? If you want that. And so there's a really good reason for that because as I did this, it was a really personal thing to me. And I realized over the course of designing it that it's a personal item that people don't have many choices. You know what I mean? Like you can either buy that $50, $100 thing, or you can spend enormous sums of money. But to have something like I say between the Timex and the Rolex, there's a Tissot. There's something that's more personal to you, but doesn't have to be extravagantly expensive. So it's made entirely of aluminum. So the entire chassis is aluminum, and we use powder coating to coat it, and it uses, honest to God, Tesla batteries.
I know it does.
So
What's the life I can get out of that thing playing it?
we did tests on it, and we ran at 60% volume, which is significant because it runs at 17 volts.
Yeah.
And it has a dual 50-watt amplifier in it. It's bi-amped.
Really cool.
It ran for 27 hours straight at 60% volume.
Pretty sweet.
And in casual use, it was 3 weeks. I ran one for 3 weeks, using it several times a day.
Sure.
So 3 weeks. It'll take a little while to charge up because it has a lot of capacity.
That's right.
But once it is charged, it lasts a really long time. So
I don't think you could have a better battery setup in it.
no, it was really neat. And so the Tesla thing is important as well as the road case because as I kind of went through this project, I started to turn it into what I referred to as an environmental contribution. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I started to fixate on the fact that I was using well, first of all, it's a premium product. So it's not something you're going to throw in the trash. It's something that you're going to hold on to. It lives on your desk or in your mantle.
Sure.
And so then I started just taking that ball and running with it. And then I found out about the Tesla batteries and how I was able to get these batteries from a company, a third party who reclaims full packs from Tesla Model 3s. I mean, each one of those cars has 4,500 cells in it,
I understand.
of which I use 4.
Yeah.
And so instead of those, ending up in a landfill or something like that, I struck a deal with this guy. These are all like fully tested. They're 100% capacity. These batteries, these same cells have gone 400,000 miles on Tesla cars in testing. So they're going to last a really, really long time. And they're not going into a landfill. And so I just kept rolling with that. The case was the next thing. I didn't want to use cardboard. I didn't want to use styrofoam. I didn't want to use plastic. I wanted to get away from stuff that's ultimately just going to end up in a frickin' landfill. And so I said, well, look, if we put it in a really nice case and we ship it that way, you're going to hold on to the case.
Forever.
You're just going to hold on to it. I mean, if the thing ever needs to be serviced, you put it back in the case, you ship it back to us to be serviced. But if not, this can hold any number of things,
Sure.
Personal items or whatever you want to protect, right? So that was a really big part of it. And during the pandemic, I just felt like music was a super important thing to us that we lost. Our live shows, our concerts. And then I said, of any time in history, people are realizing now how important music is to us, of no other time in history. And I said, I think now is the perfect time to introduce a truly personal item for listening to your music.
From the Truth in Audio line, from
Yeah.
the Truth in Audio family.
Yeah. So this is our very first made for the public product.
Yeah.
We operate under 3 vertical markets. So we have a consumer division, a pro division, and an integration division. So as we design, we take technologies from anywhere we want in those 3 verticals, and we can swap them and move them around and use the best of the best for whatever product we happen to be working on. And so this is the very first shot over the bow, which going into a consumer market is tough. You know?
Absolutely.
But I think we're going to find a niche market. Many people have already. We did a pilot run of 12 that are all pre-sold, and people never even heard them.
Yeah, well,
You didn't even hear it.
No.
You heard bits and pieces.
I accidentally rolled up on you the other day to return something, and you were testing that very speaker, and I kind of snuck in and snuck out because I wanted it to be presented. So, do me a quick favor because we're running short on time. Tell me what the components are and what the future is. But I got to put you on a stopwatch on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a 2-way enclosure. It's mono, of course, and it uses a 3.5-inch long excursion bass, full range bass driver, if you will. That's reinforced on the rear with passive radiators.
Sweet. I love the passive radiators.
Yeah, there's 3 of them up the back spine of the speaker. And then something that you don't ever see in a Bluetooth speaker is an air motion transformer.
I got air motion transformer.
Yeah. So these things extend beyond 20K. And so this is running, I think I crossed it over like 4,500, and they go up north of 30K.
What does it drop down to?
This will go to 60 hertz.
Damn. So 60 to 20?
60 to over 20.
That's sweet, man.
And like I said, it's got a really nice stereo 50-watt digital amplifier with an honest-to-God Analog Devices DSP chip. So it's got proper tuning. It's built
Broderick the shit out of this.
And we built our own battery packs. So the packs, we actually build them ourselves, right down to heat shrinking and everything, and the BMSs and everything is all done by us, by hand.
Very cool.
So we're really just hoping that people will look at this and say, hey, this is a really cool thing I want to own and have in my house.
It's sexy as shit too, Bern. It's a great looking item.
There's a bunch of colors too. It's not just black.
Yeah. Well, that's my color.
Yeah, this is your color.
Matter of fact, I'm going to request that you don't build anybody another.
Don't pour black. But we'll do a black, we'll do a white.
The silver ones, your
silver.
Polished aluminum's awesome. I actually was debating going between them, but I needed to stay.
You need to stay with the color code.
What I do,
Yeah. Yeah, and we have one with a faux wood finish. Again, no wood used, but it looks like wood.
Oh, absolutely. I've seen them, and they look exactly, it's incredible.
And then we'll have some rockin' colors. I got Playboy Blue, and what's another one? There's another color called Spanish Fly. And we powder coat them, so there's no harmful VOCs or shit being sprayed into the atmosphere.
They tend to be more resistant to abrasion and so on.
It's incredibly tough finish.
Yeah.
And cleanup is simply is grabbing a broom and just sweeping it up again. So again, just trying to be conscious. I mean, everybody has to do their little part, I think, right? So if you can design a product just keeping those green aspects in mind,
sure.
It's the best thing you could do. The best thing that I could have done with this box is try to build it so that you don't discard it.
Well, I'll have this forever, even if it takes its shit on me, which I can't imagine it ever doing. I will have it forever. But that's just because, first of all, it looks amazing. I know
thank
it
you.
sounds great, but also because it's from my true brother. Listen, man, I can't thank you enough for bringing this to us and showing it to the audience and letting me have the first one. You're a fucking brother and a half, and I got love for you, baby.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you
I got
so
love for you
much.
too. I can't wait to sit in on the rest of the interview here and listen to Pete.
Pete's gonna have some good stories. We got Pyro Pete coming up, and so I'm gonna get to it. But really, this turned out extraordinary. It's a beautiful looking product, and I would like to have you back on the show in the near future, and we could talk a little more in depth
Absolutely.
and take up a whole segment and a whole hour and get into some of your other creations and some of the other cool things. I know you got some subwoofers and some cool shit. I hear you kind of rattling walls around here. So.
And one more thing, truthandaudio.com. We have a new website now.
.com. I saw it. It looks good.
Yeah.
Go to truthandaudio.com if you want to find more out about the legend, the man, the myth, Bernie Broderick, and his incredible creations. You got some special product. The rock stars kind of him when it comes to making their studios, their man caves, their whole entire houses. And that's not an exaggeration. So if you want something special and one of a kind, Bernie Broderick.
Cheers, brother.
Thank
And
you,
his name
pal.
is Kiri.
Oh, and it's Kiri, like the song from the 80s.
Like the song.
Kiri
yeah.
Ellie.
Mr. Mister, yeah. Kiri
I actually love that. That was actually
exactly.
a really good song.
It made me feel good when I heard it. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Bernie.
All right.
Appreciate it, man. All right, guys. Thank you for that little indulgence I had to my good friend Bernie on. I love this thing. It's really sweet, and I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with it. And by the way, Bernie, I'm never going to put this at 60% of its power. You know where this thing's going. I'm going to tilt this thing out at 101.
What top? The upper top. The uppermost
So I
top.
can shoot a fucking dust cover across the room.
Let me
You know
get
how
it
I
off
roll.
your table so you can keep it from...
Thanks, Bernie. Hey, listen, tonight, man, we got really lucky. We got a guy who's, he really is a legend in the business. I can't say this enough. Pyro Pete is our guest this evening. He's been a fixture in the pyrotechniques and flame effects world for, over 35 years. I think that's a wild understatement. His client list includes bands like Kiss. I mean, all the guys that love to blow shit up. Def Leppard, Guns N' Roses, the Rolling Stones, AC/DC, Ozzy Osbourne, Motley Crue, Tina Turner, Janet Jackson. I could go on for days. It would be pointless. Let's just get the man out here himself and let's talk about it. Pyro Pete, Cappadocia. What are you doing, brother?
Hey, man, just hanging out, waiting for things to start.
Yep. Have you been getting in gear? I know there's a few things popping up and starting to make your moves.
Everybody's starting to plan.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine they're one of the first calls they make for the big stuff.
Yeah, we love those clients. Clients to call you early. We're either right up front or we're an afterthought. Like, hey, we got some money left. We got lights. We got hey, let's go. So then they, it's either great, man, we got this money. Okay, when's the tour start? 2 weeks. Oh, okay.
All right. Well, I'll try not to burn the place down, but let's get this going on. Absolutely. Let me ask you. You're in a special business. You make flames for a living, and you do it safely. That's always the goal, at least. How the hell do you get into the business of playing with fire for money? I mean, tell me, what's the origin story behind that, Pyro?
Okay, deep breath, right?
Yeah, here we go. Bring it.
1978, New York, right? I'm in college. I'm actually a theater major. My friend's sister, my friend Mac, his sister Carol, went out with a guy named Rob, and Rob used to do special effects for the Plasmatics, which a New York band, right? Wendy O. Right?
Oh, Wendy O, Wes, and I love that band.
Yeah, so we used to go see them all the time because we can get in for free because Rob, so a few times, the guy's getting you into the show for free. Hey, can I help you move your road case? Sure, okay.
Yeah.
And then the call comes in and they say, Rob says, look, we need another guy. And you're just going to be like a general helper. Yeah. You're going to help me. You're going to drive the truck. So sure. So that was it. Plasmatics, drove the truck, set up the back line, helped Rob. And then we were going to go on the road. And Rob was doing TV and movie stuff. That was his actual thing in and around the New York, New Jersey area.
Sure.
So he didn't want to go on the road. So he was like, look, come to my studio and I'm going to show you everything you need to do. Like, I knew the show because I helped him set it up,
sure.
But then he actually gave me all right, you're going to start your wonderful world of learning pyro. So it was kind of a crash course. It was kind of like, all right, here's everything you need. The show, you load this like that. And then it just kind of evolved. So Plasmatics, 1978, 79, maybe.
Yeah.
Was it. That's it. That's how you get started.
I remember she would blow up TVs, she'd chainsaw stuff. They would occasionally bring a Cadillac on stage and sledgehammer it into a million pieces. Yeah, one of the most exciting bands to be ever. They did a little stint on Tom Snyder. You know,
we brought a Nova up for that one.
Yeah, right.
I can tell you almost every car we ever blew up.
Yeah.
And we would like theme them, like depending on whatever the song was, or sometimes when she got arrested in Minneapolis,
Absolutely.
we did a bunch of shows after that where the cars, we got kind of generic 4-door cars, painted them white, and then had big stickers, maybe Minneapolis Police.
Awesome.
For a while, I don't know why she was into taxis. We were getting cars, painting them yellow, putting a fake taxi thing on it.
Yeah.
So it was cool. It was like when we were in LA. They were like, what could we do here? Like, what could we blow up here that would be like a piece of it? I said, well, we need to do like a hot rod. So we ended up doing like now I'm very upset. We did like a 68 Nova.
Oh, shit.
I said, oh yeah, this was, and, we put big wheels on it, but it was a wrecked car. We only needed whatever faced the audience needed to look good.
Oh, sure. That makes sense.
The other side, didn't even have doors in it and stuff. Because we had to access it and set everything up, but we blew some shit up.
Yeah,
we blew some shit up.
Yeah. The extraordinary place to start. Jesus God, I mean, and I know.
It's like deep end of the pool.
Oh, hell yeah! I mean, they were easily the most thematic, the biggest punk rock band for that kind of not many other punk rock bands brought a show like that. They kind of came in real lo-fi and stripped down, and then the Plasmatics would show up and tear a new roof off a place. And so just so special, so special. I know you went. It was relatively shortly there. We're going to jump around if that's okay with you. Yeah. Tonight you're going to be a straight line.
Let me check my schedule. Hold on. I wrote it linear. We can't do nothing but.
Well, we're screwed then. I know you jumped off. Like I mentioned to you, we're kind of close with the Def Leppard boys. We got a close relationship. Bernie, that was just on, just designed a really insane house system for Rick Allen. But I know you were out on, and I can't think of a better tour for you to be on. You were out on the Pyromania tour, weren't you?
Mania tour, yeah.
Talk to me about that. Were you blowing shit up left and right? What was it like?
It was crazy because it was the band liked the idea, because having just come from, the Plasmatics had opened for Kiss.
Yeah.
So the only two bands, and like Pyro Guy Problems, the only two bands I'd worked for at that time were the Plasmatics and Kiss.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So it was just all insane. And then these guys came up with a great idea. Let's just have a big opening, and then like another big, like we only had like 4 button pushes on Def Leppard, but each cue was boom.
Yeah.
And I really liked that, because it was so much better than all the previous 2 bands where every other show had 10 little pyro things.
Yeah, little fountains and shit like that.
Right, but all right, there's 4 here and then 4, and then you go. Whereas when we did it with Def Leppard, it was like, no, the opening shot was like 40 feet right across the stage, and then the band played for 15 minutes, and then another pyro shot, again, it's just a big shot, boom, and then it wasn't, so it was really refreshing to come into that, where instead of just pyro.
No, I totally agree. I remember I mentioned to you before we went on the air that I would struggle a little bit coming from the punk rock world with the pyro, and we kind of thought it was kind of a rock and roll sensibility, and we were out with doing. I was out with Exodus, and then we were opening up for Slayer and Venom would let off these pots that were just like, it would just deafen the room. Like, hey, has this ever been a problem? I mean, literally, like you couldn't hear for a solid 5 or 7 minutes after it was just complete. You were just, the tinnitus came immediately. You're just friggin' shut down. Is that a problem? What's the deal with that? Is that?
Hold on, I'm looking over my shoulder.
What do you got there?
It's
the secret.
It's like, the finale. Like, I still have a set of just muffs that depending on where you are, because sometimes that you're moving so much air that the concussion hitting your chest, if you're just too close to it, no matter what you have in your ears, you're still going to get that air pressure. So the at least muffs. So no, AC/DC, years and years of shooting the cannons, if I'm within a few feet, if because the way it's set up, if the concussion waters I just cleaned my garage. I found like a 20-year-old headset that says Pyro Pete AC/DC on it. I'm like, oh my God, these things are, the plastic on it was all old and cracked.
Right.
But yeah, now you learn pretty quick that I always tell people, when you see me putting in the earplugs, look the fuck out.
Yeah,
Something's gonna happen.
Follow suit. Well, let's talk about AC/DC. I mean, one of the I have a little history there. One of the, I think, the most a part of the show that the audience that has any insight into an AC/DC show is when those cannons go off, and I mean it's thrilling. It's friggin' breathtaking. What is behind it? And I knew they kind of started with a certain amount of them, and they built up to a larger number. What was the history with that?
Like any other.
Just when kind of a crowd reaction, and you guys just leaned into it.
Well, I mean, yeah. So I was on I believe I was on Def Leppard at the time, and Faye McMahon, the production manager, introduced me to his friend Jake Berry. And Jake said, I take care of AC/DC, and we got these cannons. And, well, a company built the cannons, and the cannons are cool. But, we're having a little trouble. Like, we want an operator, could you come out and look at the cannons and, figure out, can you make them louder? Or, if we went, sure. Yeah. So these were the original cannons. They were just 2 of them. And we toured those probably for 3 or 4 years. And they were just on lifts. And it was all different incarnations of it, on lifts, getting rolled out, on platforms. Yeah. And then they wanted a departure. We did another one where the cannons were, they came up like deck guns on a ship, and then they went down, and then they leveled towards the audience.
Very cool.
So that was the first time we got away from the actual kind of war. I would say Revolutionary War, but they were actually a French cannon, was what the original designer told me. They were
kind of modeled after. Sure.
Right. They were short, so they should have been a mortar.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we had these ones, and they had a fiberglass mold, so they were going to make more. So then the concept was for Monsters of Rock to have 21 of them. And on the scaffolding, so left and right of the stage, so like starting at, I'm going to keep it on the road. So starting at like 10 foot 1, and then at 20 foot 2, and so on and so on. So we had 7 on this side, and then 7 across the top of the outdoor. So, 7 up at 80 feet in the air.
Damn.
So we actually had a 21 gun salute with 21 guns. And then the math on that was to figure out so I could get enough shots for the song, which isn't 21. So it was like, But then we had those cannons. So we rocked those for years because now we had 21 of them. So when we did the indoor stage tour, we went down to how many can we fit, and then it was always how do we present them too.
Sure.
We like to keep them hidden and because everybody knew when the song started. Because if you always notice, the cannons were always intentionally slow to rise to their position.
Absolutely.
So the song was going and the cannons are going, and they're still going up, and they're going up.
Yeah. Build anticipation.
Right. Whatever incarnation, even when we did the 21 gun salute and they were there, if it wasn't windy, they were covered, and during the beginning of the song, guys had to go up because this is, the 80s or 90s or, we're
early days.
Heavy into automation.
That's right.
Automation was, all right, you go up the ladder and pull the rope, and you go up the ladder and pull the other rope.
You were the automation.
Yeah. Carbon-based units, we call them.
Exactly.
So, the cannons were always they were always presented in a kind of a very theatrical, very slow build up, So, we always had a lot of fun with the cannons, and it was always the last song because they generated so much smoke.
Yeah.
Just that much of concussion powder. 36.
That's easily the first 12 rows kind of disappear in that smoke.
Oh, yeah. We load out part of our thing was, and for the last song, turn the AC up, turn the evac up, turn the heat, whatever you could turn up to pressurize the building.
That's right.
So as soon as we open that loadout door, bam.
It just pulls it all out, drains it.
Yeah.
No, it's an exciting thing. For those who haven't seen it, you catch it on video, go see it live, whatever you can do. It's an extraordinary moment in rock and roll. I've seen it multiple times. I've been lucky enough to be involved in that. And it's one of the best effects in a rock show that I've seen live. No two ways about that. And, the feeling, this is an enveloping feeling. And then that's a part of what you do, Kiss comes to mind. We mentioned it a minute ago. Kind of the pioneers in many ways into bringing pyro into the game. And you spent a lot of time with those folks. Talk about those guys.
Exactly like you said, they had been in the game. So the Plasmatics got the gig to open up for Kiss. So that was right, exactly. So I show up and I'm like, I'm the Plasmatics pyro guy. And the Kiss guys are like, yeah, okay, we're the Kiss pyro guys. And I was just like, oh my God, because we were on a budget and we were making it up as we went. And we didn't do all the pyro at all the shows because they didn't have enough money to,
Yeah.
So, you turn up at a Kiss show and you're like, I do the pyro for the biggest punk band around. And they're like, yeah, did we mention Kiss? You're just like, oh, man.
Yeah, kind of bring
So that was it. So when the Plasmatic stint was done opening, after a couple of weeks, I think we were on the tour for like 4 or 6 weeks or something, the pyro guys were like, hey, give us your number. And sure enough, they called me up and started working for them. But I mean, it was just the Kiss show back then. It was different, like we made air bursts, the little, so you see in the truss, sparks coming out.
Sure.
Well, we used to buy all the shit in bulk. We used to buy little 1 ounce jars. You'd mix them up and make a dozen or so. And, so we'd actually be in the pyro room. Back then we would say it was like 100 or so items per person. That's how we crewed it, So if you had 200 or 300 pieces, you're a 2-man, maybe you're a 3-man, But not many shows did back then. Like even a Leopard show I was talking about, it was 1 man. I was maybe 60 pieces. But like I said, I only pressed the button 3 times. But each time, it was a full left, right, 60 foot wide. It was a great look. So back then it was a different animal. Now, we put out shows. A couple of years ago, we did the Kiss Motley Crue tour, and we had 2,000 pieces of product. I had a 7-man crew because now all the stuff now is pre-made. You're gonna hang 30 or 50 air bursts where you just open up a box of 50 air bursts that you ordered.
Right.
But I remember we used to set up the whole Kiss show and then have to make the air bursts for tomorrow night's show. Or if we had like an extra hour, we would just make up a bunch of air bursts, so we didn't have to make air bursts tomorrow, but we'll have time to fix the tank or whatever the hell, Gene was complaining about at any given time. But,
not
nice
like Gene to come. Sure. But, Gene was he's what we always call him, imperfect perfectionist.
Exactly. And you know what, though? The guy deserves it. He will never call you on bullshit.
No.
When he calls you on something, you're busted. It's real. He saw it happen or not happen.
Yeah.
And that's that. So when getting yelled at from Gene, you can't walk away and go, oh, he's just being an idiot. It's like, the guy's right, which actually makes it more infuriating. Because it's like, I just got yelled at by some guy in his full demon costume on the side of the fucking stage, and you can't walk away and go, oh, he's an idiot. You go, I better not do that mistake again. And then guess what? You don't. Get yelled at by Gene a few times, you make less and less mistakes.
Oh, that is very well said. No, the man knows his game. He knows the business, and he really brought the big theatrics to the whole, rock and roll scene. I think that comes largely from his upbringing with his mom, when he was Haim, and going to all those Broadway shows. There was just a thing that he just had a vision, and nobody's realized it better than Gene goddamn Simmons. I mean, we would never try to take that from him. So yeah, you're absolutely absolutely wrong. You know, again, you've worked for some really legendary acts. When it comes to mind, one was working with the Rolling Stones. I know that you've done a lot of work with those cats. I don't. When I think of Rolling Stones, I don't think. You know, I've got a lot of friends that work with them. I mentioned Joe Victoria a minute ago, John Fukushima, some other folks, and I don't really think of them as a pyro act. How do you incorporate pyro into a Rolling Stone show?
And oddly enough, they're one of the bigger pyro acts. But it's the same thing. Like like Paul McCartney is a huge pyro act, but you don't equate Paul McCartney. It's the finale.
Sure,
it's really the finale. Like. A Rolling Stones finale has every bit as much pyro as an entire Kiss show. It's only going off in 45 seconds.
Gotcha.
You know?
Sure.
So yeah, big. And then, we've always had For Sympathy. We've always rolled out some big flame units for Sympathy for the Devil. So they're not an in-your-face pyro show. They're a very tastefully used pyro show. There's an opening cue, whatever it is, if it's Start Me Up or if it's whatever opening song it is, there's just blam, and that blam has to be, again,
uniform,
100 feet wide, 200 feet high, just so everybody in the stadium goes, oh, the show started,
we're going now.
Yes, boom,
exactly.
So that's it. So here's the band's now going to play, and then an hour later, Sympathy. So a little bit more pyro and some flames. Okay, chill. Now the Rolling Stones are going to play. And then 2 finales. We have when the band is on and the band does their bow, we start the little finale. And then as they're walking off, we roll in the bigger finale, which is we start with sort of 100-foot and 200-foot stuff, and then we end with sort of 300-foot stuff.
Oh, wow!
So it's kind of like a fake finale, and then the real finale.
Sure, I can.
And again, all of that pyro is equal to a Kiss or a Motley or a GNR show. With the number of pieces,
right?
It's just all going off in 38 to 45 seconds.
Yeah, like you said, so it's like the big finale, the big bam. Yeah. Now remember that forever and go talk about it around the water cooler tomorrow at work, kind of thing.
Exactly. When you get to again, I don't want to say anything, but there's some bands that have pyro at every other song.
Yeah, sure.
If you're a hardcore fan, you know that, and you know where the cues are, you know? But if you just came in to see this show, and then at the end of it, I said to you, what was your favorite pyro thing? They'd be like, I don't know, which one, but the 11th time something blew.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It just gets so, and I've had that conversation with drummers too. It's like, how about I just hook up a thing and every time you hit the drum, something will go, you have to kind of explain it to them like that.
Triggered drums.
Right, exactly. Here, you just, what are we going to have? 11,000 pieces? How many do you want,
Well, but frankly, both me and you know exactly who we're talking about right now, but yeah, we won't say. But yeah, that's a real thing, and I think sometimes your job is to educate them in the most tactful, tasteful, proper way to get this done. And I hope that they defer to your expertise on this.
We actually had to make a trigger, like a pyro interface to the pyro board that's triggered by the drummer, because the conversation is, dude, we've been doing this song for 20 years. How do you fuck it up? How do you not have enough bangs? It goes like this. And I'm like, yeah, but live, you don't play it like that. The album is like that, and I'm sure in your head it's like that. But live, when you're in the moment, you give it an extra boom, and that's why there's never one more at the end.
That's right.
And the timing's off too. Fuck you. Luckily, the bass player, we're talking about Tommy. Nicky
I know exactly who.
Nicky goes, he's right, dude. On the album, it's da-dum-ba-dum-ba-dum. And live, it's ba-dum-ba-dum-ba-dum.
That's right. That's right.
He goes, it's been like that for 20 years. So we literally made him, so now he shoots it. We just enable it. When the cue's coming up, we're on the button. He does it. It goes off perfectly. And everybody's happy. Yeah, because you get those, sometimes like I said, education, you got to, or, other bands are like, they're explaining something, and then you got to kind of go, hey, boss, we did that exact thing, I think 5 tours ago.
Right.
I still may have it in the shop. Let me dust it off and bring it out.
Sure. Out of the catacombs. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, part of our job is to speak truth to power. That's a real thing. And sometimes they got a point, a lot of times. and many times so do we. And I think that's why they pay us the middle bucks, you know, is to come and tell them what's up. In your business, things must invariably, at some point in your career, things must go wrong from time to time. Can you give us an example of something like that and how you deal with it in the moment?
You know, you can't panic. It's only going to make anything worse.
Yeah.
You know, luckily, you know, I've never been, knock wood, you know, in some of the situations that I know other people have been into.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would honestly say, like, one of the worst things was I was on rehearsals for the show, and I got a phone call from Jack, one of the guys that works for us, happens to be my nephew, and they're on the East Coast, and I'm on the West Coast, and it's 3 a.m, and he's like, "Hey, Uncle Pete, how's it going?" I'm like, "Fuck, Jack, it's 3 a.m." He goes, "Oh, no, I had to ask you a very important question." I was like, "What?" He goes, "You ever seen a truck turnover on a tour?" And I was like, "Yeah, I've seen a truck hit a low bridge, and I've seen a truck break an axle." Yeah. He goes, "Have you ever had a truck roll over?" And I was like, "No, I don't. I've never had a pyro truck roll over." He goes, "Well, you have now."
Oh shit!
Like, what the fuck?
What a little dick. I mean, sorry.
Yeah.
But
So 3 a.m, you know, we find out that a truck rolled over.
That's rough, man.
And we got to replace all. Driver's fine. But you know, we got to replace the entire tour. You know, like today.
No, I understand. This has happened to us 2 years ago
Right.
with the Kendrick Lamar thing. I know exactly what the fuck you're talking about. Yeah.
That is actually, you know, I've had fire marshals cancel permits.
Sure.
We've had high wind conditions. We've had permits denied because, you know, a truck was parked in the emergency exit, and the fireman lost his shit and was like, "Nothing, no, not till they move this truck."
Right.
And you know, a queue came and went. That shit's always going to happen. You know, I mean, we had a thing on a show, on a Kiss show, where we were betting whether Paul would light his. He had a towel, and he would dap off, you know, when he was sweating.
Sure.
And then he would just kind of casually throw it.
Bad idea.
It was a 50-50 chance of it landing right on the pyro.
Yeah.
And every night it was, and he would do it because there'd be a little thing between songs. He'd grab his towel, he'd throw his towel, he'd step to the mic, and now there's a pyro cue coming. So if the towel's on the thing, pyro cue's happening anyway.
Oh boy.
So we've lit that towel on fire. We had a small fire on a burlap that was just smoldering, and we had to bring the truss down during a Kiss show.
No shit.
You know, to put out some smoldering burlap. You just roll with it. I mean, those incidences are good. They're nice. We could talk about them now.
Sure.
You know, it's the other incidences. You know, I was doing a tour, and I got called to know a guy that works for me was on some time off, and he was doing an aerial show, and things went bad. You know, and he got killed.
Oh man, that's rough.
Yeah. So, you know, pyro is like riding a motorcycle. Everybody who rides a motorcycle knows somebody who died riding a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Well, everybody who does pyro knows somebody who's died doing pyro, you know?
Damn.
We just don't like to talk about it. It happens.
Sure.
You know, it's like,
Goes with the territory, it sounds like.
Yeah. And, you know, people have been burnt, and, you know, I've burnt a guy, and I've burnt one of my own guys, and I've burnt myself. You know, it's like, yes, it's a very dangerous job, and it's very hazardous, and shit goes wrong. And you just keep smiling and keep going. It's like,
I imagine that there's big differences with the safety tech, though, when it comes to the stuff. When you were coming up saying, you know, Pyromania, Death Leopard days and early Kiss to what you got now. I can't imagine there's not a lot of built-in safety in that now. No? Am I wrong?
Yes. No. It's interesting because we get away with more now, but it's harder. There's more hoops to jump through.
Sure.
So they let us do crazier stuff because we've proven that it's, you know, but we were wild west in the 80s.
Oh, man.
We were straight up, like, some cities didn't have a permit. Some cities you'd get a fire guy would just kind of walk around and go, "All right, well, we're just going to park a truck out back, and if something catches on fire, we're rushing in," you know? So now it's more like, yeah, you know, you got to get your permit in, 6 to 8 weeks out, and then they're going to send it back, and you're going to have to answer. So we get away with more now, and it's much more regulated, and it's safer now, but it looks more chaotic now.
Yeah, that's
because
true.
we're doing bigger shows, you know? Like I said, you know, in the 80s, a Kiss show was still 300-400 pieces. Now a Kiss show is 1,100 pieces.
Well, were you involved in that thing that just happened in, I think it was Dubai? And then, didn't they set some new record with like...
They set the record of the most flame units used for one show.
It was like a New Year's Eve thing or something. They just lit the sky on fire,
right. And there's because there's a company, a French company that's they take care of all the stuff in Dubai.
Okay.
And great guys, great company. And, you know, Dubai's got piles of money.
Yes, I do.
So it's like, okay, you know, so they do a lot of crazy stuff over there. I mean, we've done over there with some acts, and we've done some stuff, and we've used this, you know, we've called the French guys like, hey, we need 80 of these and 90 of these. Because you get over there and it's like Candyland.
Oh, I bet.
What do you want to do?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but then again, because of the genre of music I work for mostly, don't get to Dubai all that much.
Sure. I was surprised by it. I think the reason that one might have went off, first of all, maybe some, you know, Chic was super down. But yeah, I thought it was a weird fit for, you know, Kiss to be there. And but I think part of it was to get that world record too. And that's a place where you can kind of pull. Yeah, it might have been the whole thing. And I'm sure there was a, you know, a couple $1 million check attached to that show as well. So
yeah, right. And the gear was there, and it was the easier. Yeah, right. Yeah, it was probably one of the easiest places to pull it together.
Yeah.
You know, because the level of the shows they do out there for anything. Yeah. Like, you know, you just said like some Chic or something. But honestly, these guys have like private birthday parties that are like,
yeah,
you know,
Beyonce plays and they go super balls to the walls. Yeah, it's extraordinary, absolutely extraordinary. But these are kind of the stuff we talk a little bit, you know, off camera about some of the stuff that gets up to these private things that I don't think the larger world knows we get up to. It's also with some of the corporates, you know, some of the big things we get up to with the corporates. And I think it's a slightly hidden world from the larger public that these things take place. And, you know, me and you are restricted by NDA, so we don't get into a lot of it. But yeah, those are exciting things, and they have special parameters.
Oh, and these corporations come at you too, and you know, we want this, and this, and then we want the corporate logo. Okay, well, we're going to have to work with this is custom, okay, and this is all right. You know, it's just like woo, and corporate gigs too. At least they start planning them 6 months out.
Well,
8 months out.
Small armies on these things, you know. We always call those are the clipboard Marys. You know, you got like 10 or 12 of them. They're all running around trying to justify their existence. It's an interesting thing. And again, we can't really go into any detail about it, but we know what we're talking about. And some of these things are friggin' ginormo dome stuff. You know, like you know some of the coolest bands, and you know these amazing lineups, and a lot of scenic and a lot of pyro and Kyra, all of it. They go super big, and like you said, there's a real long run up to them in the planning. So they tend to go really well, and really in that business, there isn't really any room to not have it be perfect, because man, there's a lot of eyes on it that need it to be perfect. Working with Guns N' Roses, I see they're coming back out this year. That should be fun. What's your history with the GNR?
History with GNR is 1980 something. I don't know.
Probably 7-ish. 8-ish, something like that.
I mean, right, you know, Appetite right there. That was
amazing album. One of the best rock and roll albums ever. Yeah,
I mean, I remember them as being an opening act. Yeah. You know, and then
I remember on the Sunset Strip, album, brother. I remember.
And then when everyone was like, oh, I know those guys, you know, and then the phone rang and I was like, oh, thank God. But we had history. Like I knew, you know, I knew the production, and I knew the people there, and and you know, I got along with everybody, and Axl was chill, which was nice. You know, he was very chill. Sure. So that was it. He liked, you know, he would come up with just crazy stuff, and I was sure, I'll see if I could do it. Sure, why not? You know, just never say no. You know, I'll try. I think we can do that. We could do that, brother. Yes, we can. You know, and if it was like totally insane, in our end, if something's totally insane, it's because it's dangerous, and then you could just explain why that's a bad idea.
Yeah, we're going to burn the building down if we do that type of a thing. Yeah.
Right. So, you know, at least, you know, but then we do get asked for stuff too. And, you know, this isn't specific to GNR. I don't want to get off the GNR subject, but, you know, we do get asked for things that like, no, I don't control physics or nature or gravity. So, no, I can't do that.
I imagine that's a conversation that comes up with some frequency.
I went to an interview for a gig with a rap artist in the 90s.
Okay.
A rap artist of some renown.
Sure.
That was all like, I had to have a pre-meeting with his people about, don't ask him any questions, just answer his shit. He's going to come at you and he's going to
Been to those meetings. I know the meetings you speak of, yes.
Right. So I'm sitting there and the guy's like, okay, so I want the fog to roll in and then I want it to part in the middle. And I said, all right, so are we doing this on a sound stage or is this a video?
Yeah.
No, this is the tour.
All
right, man, listen, I don't, he goes, well, no. I saw the movie, The Fog.
Yeah.
My friends had done that movie. So he kept on hitting me with it, going, well, and then, in the movie, and then the guy walks down and then the fog opens and the fog closes behind him. And I'm like, yeah, it was a good movie, wasn't it? It's a movie.
It's a movie.
So he goes, well, we're going to break for lunch. We're going to come back and, see if you can't get your head around it, man. Okay. I call my buddy. I tell him, look, man, I don't want to work for this guy. So I'm going to call you, put you on speaker. You explain to him how it was done and I'm going to get fired. And he goes, my friend says, sure.
Yeah.
So we get back and he's like, da-da-da. And I said, hold on. My friend was visual effects coordinator. And the guy sitting next to him in his office right now was the physical effects coordinator. It just so happens that they're there together.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put them on speaker. And they're like, yeah, 99% of it was CGI. We only ever used real smoke once or twice. It was all bullshit. It's a movie.
Yeah, it was all done in post. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he looks at me, the rapper, and he's like, I think we're done here. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, I was done here a half hour ago, man. Get the fuck out.
It sounds like they had this biblical idea of parting seas and shit. Like it's a thing that happens,
But you know what? Honestly, if we could have controlled the main part about doing that live is that I cannot control the air in the building. I don't know how, if it's a new building and it's not leaky, if it's an old building and it's leaky, there's going to be a draft. And as soon as I do my smoke, the smoke is going to fall. Now I can have fans and I can influence the smoke and I can move it. But how many whirring fans? If you say, we're going to go to a sound studio and I could shut every door and insulate it and turn off every AC unit and have still air, then guess what? I could park the smoke for you. I could bring the smoke back in, but you can't walk through it because it's going to.
You'll interfere the smoke and it will change its trajectory and attitudes. Exactly.
The guy didn't want to hear anything other than, no. I saw this movie and I was like, oh man.
Yeah,
you do get asked for stuff that just
the impossible, basically. Well, and they don't understand, from venue to venue, the needs and necessities and what can and can't be done slightly change and alter. And it's just, like you said, you can't manipulate physics and nature, to beyond a point of physics and nature. So it's again, sometimes, you have to teach the customer how to treat us and what to expect. And it's not always easy. It's probably one of the tougher parts of our job. But
let's go back. So the whole question started with, we were talking about GNR, because I love those guys. I love
amazing.
80s. Early GNR was just
exciting.
It was a party and a train wreck all together, but nobody got hurt. And, we all did it again and again and again and again. We had some of the best, and they loved pyro. They were just like, yeah, whatever, bro. Where's the pyro? Oh, okay, cool. They'd be turning around to watch the pyro during the show. And it was just a great bunch of guys, really, really nice. And, we did end up developing, there were certain cues, which I kind of don't like when that happens with a band, because now you're obligated that there's always going to be the Paradise cue and there's always going to be the this cue and there's always going to be the that cue.
Sure.
But then what we did find out with another act that had 1 year, Tommy and Nikki wanted to change all the pyro cues.
Wow.
They were just like, no, we're tired of it. And the fans didn't like it.
Really?
They were getting reviews there was no pyro at the end of such and such. but there was pyro in the middle of this song. There never was the pyro in the middle of this song. It's always been on the end of that song. I mean, fans were pissed off.
They rebelled. It sounds like.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, but GNR is funny because GNR, it's done on audibles. Axl can get up and say whatever song he wants to play.
That's right.
And like when we talk to the fire department, we say, okay, look, here's a set list, and it's got like 50 songs on it or 60 songs. So we're like, don't worry, they're only going to play 30 to 40 of them. Now,
that's all.
That's all. So it's either going to be 90 minutes or 2.5 hours. You're either getting home at 3 a.m. or midnight.
Right.
And he's like, well, what happens if they don't play any? I said, if they go through the whole set and don't play any pyro song, we shoot it all in the finale. So that's what we did for GNR. If we had a cue and then Axl didn't play that song, we threw it in the finale.
Makes perfect sense.
Some nights the finale was just like amazing.
Extraordinary. Sure.
But they were guys because of Axl's demeanor, that the rest of the band got to it. They were just going with the flow. They were like, whatever, just do it.
Sure.
We're going to play. We're going to have fun. It wasn't people bitching and fighting. It was, apparently that all happened in the studio, thankfully.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
Right. When it came out on the road, it was just kind of like, we're going to make this happen. And,
great live band.
Yeah. Great live band.
Yeah.
Great, fun, awesome. One of the best.
Yeah. Particularly the early days. They're very exciting. Great set list, extraordinary playing. A lot of fun. Working with Janet Jackson, we have a lot of history with Janet. She's a special woman. The Jackson camp is, this is a camp that's in the game 50 years. There ain't nothing that they don't know. They know exactly what they're searching for, what they want. What was it like working with Janet Jackson's camp?
It's funny you would say that because they had a list. Okay, we want this in the beginning, and we want this 3 songs later, and we want this for this song. Yeah. So, but it was cool because it was very nicely structured and very nicely organized. And we did say, okay, well, for these cues, we're going to bring in multiple items and we'll demo several different looks for each cue. And then you just assign where you want it. And they were like, fantastic. So we did demos, which were they shot video, and they went over with Janet and the choreographers and stuff.
Sure.
And then they came back. And so, but it was more of it was closer to a Broadway theatrical kind of production.
Absolutely.
Right, because it had the band, which was one entity, and it had the dancers, which was another entity, and then it had Janet, which was, the entity.
Absolutely.
But they all worked
It was a very coordinated effort, yes.
Right, so it was more like a full, theatrical production, more of a non-musical, if that's not the correct term, but you know what I mean? It was structured more like we had scenes.
Absolutely.
Where props would change, and then it would be this scene for 3 songs, and then this scene for 2 songs. So it was great because it was just all cut and dried. It was
extraordinarily professional group of folks to work with. Extraordinary. I mean, to watch it's kind of a machine. Is kind of the way I interpreted it.
Yeah.
And it was kind of boom, boom, hitting on all cylinders, and everything had its timing and choreography, and that was set pieces, costume changes, the whole nine, and the band's like a Swiss watch, all these hired guns, these just top-notch players. Yeah, it's an extraordinary thing to watch, and it's kind of a tribute or a little tip of the hat to the production crews that work with the Jacksons across the board. Really, they understand the business and they understand what they want and how to get it done. It's always a delight working with them. What does the future hold for Pyro Pete? What do you got coming up?
Everything. Well, we've got some new flame systems, so we're making. We've got a liquid system that's got 5 heads that's movable.
Oh,
and
damn!
So what happened? I all the vendors want lasers.
Sure.
I mean, all the shows want one vendor. They want the vendor to have pyro and lasers. So I got contacted by an old friend of mine, Doug Adams.
Mm-hmm.
Doug used to own Pyrotech. Well, Doug sold Pyrotech, and he was going to get out of the business for a little bit, but that doesn't work.
No, he got the
literally
bug.
Called me up and he goes, "Hey, my no compete is up, and I'm going to get back in the game. Can you, I need some gear, and you've got a bunch of gear, and can we work out a thing?" And I said, "Buddy, let's have lunch." My business partner at the time was looking at retirement, So Doug and I said, well, let's get something going. And Doug said, all right, but I got to tell you, I'm already getting something going with this laser company. It's fantastic. I need a laser. We need lasers.
Sure.
So now it's Image SFX.
That's right.
And that's us in Las Vegas. And then the bigger company is Image Engineering. Image Engineering is a laser company that their claim to fame is NFL and corporate. They do 14 NFL teams. They do half the NFL.
Damn.
And corporate.
Sure.
They bought Synchrolite a couple of years ago. So all the U.S. inventory of Synchrolite we own.
Damn.
And these guys, it's three brothers, and one of the brothers is a doctorate of electrical engineering, and he's the one that does the electronics. So the control systems for these lasers. They do make some proprietary in-house lasers. So now we make our own flame systems. I mean, in my old company, we made our own flame systems. So now we've got a Phoenix, which is a liquid system with 5 heads, and they can move, and each head can move independently.
That's
so
amazing.
You can make kind of whirlwind patterns, and you can make splayed out. And we're talking 30-foot wings. You change the nozzles. You can go. It's really a big unit. So we had to make a smaller one.
Sure.
So the Phoenixes are crazy big. And then we're making what we call a fire screen. This is how complex these things are now. We have to run them with a Grand MA.
Wow. I guess that makes sense, though. You're going to need the controller unit for that, something that can really carry a lot of data.
Right, but in the old days, so this was the firing system in the old days.
Okay.
You had a fill switch. So the fill opened the valves to fill the propane system. Then there was a shut off when you put it at its predetermined, 60, 70, whatever PSI.
Sure.
Then you armed it, and then you pressed the buttons. So that was it. So you had a fill and an arm and a fire.
Kind of an ABC type system.
Right. Now, there was stuff going on behind the scenes. When you armed it, you were turning on a fail-safe system that was a fire eye that was looking at the pilot light and keeping this valve off. And I mean, there was a lot of things happening.
Sure.
But you basically only needed 4 channels.
Gotcha.
Right now, a fire screen, which has 6, so the Phoenixes are liquid, so they're oriented this way. So the flame does that. The fire screens are gas, so they're oriented this way. So now we've got a 4-foot unit with 6 heads in it, and each head is articulated left and right, and each head is proportionate from 0 to 100. So you can go, from no feet to 20 feet.
Sure.
Now, so they go left, right, they open, close. Behind it is a burn bar, which does a constant if you need it. And that's proportional. So you can have a burn, that's a few inches to probably 2.5 feet. Each one of these 4-foot sticks takes 16 channels to run it.
Damn. 16 channels. Damn.
Yeah. Because like I said, each valve has one, left, right. And
I'm doing the math on it, but man.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now so that's what we're getting into. So, and because the laser guys have that technology, for all the laser stuff, and it doesn't help having a doctorate of electrical engineering on your, in the company.
Sure.
So, literally like now we plug it in, we get feedback. It'll say, all right, you're plugged into one fire screen, and its fire screen number's 3372, and you've got it on channel. It's crazy. I mean,
so you create universes, kind of like in lighting.
Okay. I got a guy programs it right now.
Yeah, that makes perfect
Tyler,
sense.
or I got Cheeks. Cheeks is killer. But it's a bit of a learning curve because these guys are lighting guys or laser guys that are used to light or laser, which has no ramp up time. A light's on or off.
That's right.
So now when we're building looks, so like I could take 10, like we did on TSO, we could take 10 of these sticks and put them together for 40 feet. But now I've got 60 individual flames that I could chase. I could start them in the middle. And I can also not only chase left, right, but I could do patterns up, down because they're proportional. So if this one's at 100%, this one's at 60, and this one's at 40, you could literally build a waveform and then move the waveform.
Very cool.
So now it's at a weird learning curve with these lighting and laser programmers. I've got to express to them, oh no, wait, no, this, you have to back this up because this takes a half a second,
Sure.
and to get the flame to really propagate, I need 2/3 of a second for this. So now just writing these cues, I mean, I kind of miss the old days. It's just me on a board.
Oh,
She's
yeah.
like,
pushing buttons. Look at that. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man,
Well, that's your
yeah,
job, though, Pete. I mean, it's to move the bar, always keep pushing it, moving it forward, and and of course the production teams will always keep asking for more, and you keep bringing it.
And well, I mean, Doug had this stuff in his brain, and then when we got together with the laser guys, we prototyped it, and then they built it for us, and it went out on TSO. So TSO got to use it all first.
Well, TSO is one of the biggest acts in the game, particularly for bringing a giant production, between the ego
and
ramps
it's
and
new. Every year they're like, what's new? I mean, literally during the tour, they're like, we like that. How are you going to make that better for next year? And it's like, don't worry, we're on it.
We got you. Yeah.
So it's, during rehearsals, they're already planning the next tour.
That's TSO, man. Yeah. That's TSO. Now they force all of us. TSO.
That bar just goes. Boop, boop, boop,
yeah,
boop,
it just keeps moving it, and to their credit, really to their credit. And if you're a TSO fan, when you buy that ticket, you're going to be entertained. You're going to see a massive production. You're going to see shit you've never seen at any other rock show. It's almost always going to be presented first at TSO. That's at least the recent history has been that for them.
And that's what we did. We built this stuff and we said, you guys get it first.
Yeah.
Then after your tour, luckily their tour's at the end of the year.
That's right. That's right.
So after your tour, then we put this stuff out to the general public.
Right.
They loved it. And so, that's kind of a relationship we have with them. We build them crazy stuff and then let it rip.
Yeah, right on. Pete, I got to tell you, man, I could talk to you all night. You got stories.
Oh, dude, anytime.
You're the best, brother. Really, we so appreciate having you on, sharing your experiences with the audience. We've had, everybody from riggers to caterers to everybody from the top disciplines, and we haven't had a badass Pyro Pete on the show. Thank you for coming on and sharing your stuff, my brother.
Anytime, brother. I got stories all day.
You're the man, man.
All right, man.
Thanks. Be well,
appreciate
brother.
it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Listen, guys, I did it again. I got one of the top badasses in the world for what he does, and he is literally one of the best. In my mind, he is the best in the game. We're going to try to keep doing this for you. Listen, I won't lie to you. It's getting a little trickier. I got my people out. Kyle's not here right now. We miss you, Kyle. I hope you're having a good show. It's just going to be like that. We're going to do our best. We're going to have to film some stuff out in front. This is a live show we're doing right now, thankfully. But we're going to probably put a few things in the can and come to you still Thursdays at 7 p.m. We know you've got 1,000 other places you can be, so we appreciate you being here. We love what we do. We're going to put on rock shows. Things are coming back to normal. We're loving that. Next week, we got the one and only Ken Barr. Ken Barr is an old school roadie from Alice Cooper, Kiss, STP, Stone Temple Pilots. He's also an author. He's got a couple great books. He does these amazing movies. He is an extraordinary person. We're going to have him in here next Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We hope you come and see us. Until then, be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. We'll see you next week. Good night.